War has been an ever-present concept since the beginning of humanity. Within a war, military ranks are always established, which can easily bring about the formation of a hierarchy, and along with the formation of a hierarchy often comes its collapse. The formation and collapse of this hierarchy can be portrayed by film in numerous ways, including dialogue,
I'm the father.
costuming, and location. But today I will be discussing a much more subtle method, the use of cinematography and the strategic editing of video clips to depict the formation and collapse of hierarchy between high-ranking officials, soldiers, and the enemy. To examine this, we will be analyzing two films, both by the renowned American director Stanley Kubrick. The first being Full Metal Jacket, released in 1987, which depicts the intense training regime soldiers endured in preparation for the Vietnam War. Full Metal Jacket presents the audience with the construction of a hierarchy between soldiers due to a single soldier, Private Pyle, being physically incapable of measuring up to the other soldiers in training. It was released a year before the end of the Iran-Iraq War and presents an anti-war perspective in order to remind the American public of the atrocities of the Vietnam War, as the American public seemed dangerously supportive of the ongoing war. And Full Metal Jacket touches heavily on the humiliating grounds of which hierarchy is constructed upon inside of war, thus providing an effective argument against supporting the Iran-Iraq War. Throughout the relentless training, Private Pyle is shown as incompetent when compared to the other recruits. Kubrick uses camera shots to depict the construction of hierarchy between the soldiers in boot camp when Private Pyle fails to measure up to the other recruits. Kubrick shows him failing at various physical tests such as obstacle courses. The latter in this scene is a symbol for the hierarchy between both the soldiers and between the soldiers and their drill instructor Hartman. In the Marine Corps, physically capable men are seen as of much higher importance than those who are not physically capable of enduring the hardships of war, as each individual recruit has minimal importance when compared to the Marine Corps, while the Marine Corps as a whole has a significantly higher amount of importance. Thus, soldiers who are physically capable of benefiting the Marine Corps will rank higher on the hierarchical scale. In the visual metaphor of the ladder, Hartman is at the very top of the ladder, since Hartman is the drill sergeant and the highest ranking officer in the film, so he represents the Marine Corps. His location at the top of the ladder indicates both his and the Marine Corps' ultimate superiority over the men. The physically capable men are climbing up the ladder and level with Hartman, symbolizing their climb up the hierarchy to the point where they are as important to the Marine Corps as Hartman is. A dolly shot follows Pyle up the ladder, and it is used to portray his incompetence in comparison to the other recruits. Thus his inability to move up that military hierarchy along his fellow recruits, since it relies so heavily on the physical capability he lacks. When Pyle is stuck and unable to clamber over to the other side of the ladder, the camera movement stops and focuses on Pyle, which further emphasizes the fact that his fellow recruits are surpassing him as they are seen moving up and into the shot and out of it again on the way down, indicating the ease with which the other men can prove themselves to Hartman and climb the military hierarchy, while Pyle struggles to follow suit and becomes stuck on the same rung of the ladder, unable to move up, both literally and metaphorically, since he is not as physically capable as the other men are, immediately placing him on the bottom of the military hierarchy. The result of Pyle's inability to move up in the hierarchy serves as an effective argument against war, since it highlights the unfairness of the military system. Pyle is picked on and punished for an aspect he has no control over, his physical capability. In contrast, Stanley Kubrick's Paths of Glory shows both the existence of a hierarchy and its collapse. The hierarchy present in this scene is between the unnamed French soldiers and a captured German girl in a bar, since Germans were the enemy to the French during World War I. Humphrey Cobb, the writer of the original novel of Paths of Glory, served with the Canadian Army during the First World War, setting the scene for the sympathetic view on soldiers, and is the reason the soldiers were portrayed breaking this hierarchy. Kubrick uses strategic editing to show the audience the collapse of this hierarchy. When the barkeep instructs the German girl to sing a song, we are shown 4 individual faces in rapid succession. They are shown hooting and clapping at the girl, frightening her. But when she begins singing, though, the editing slows down and we are shown the individual faces again, but now the camera lingers on each face for up to 3 times as long. The song has begun to pacify the men. Thus, the frenetic pace of the editing slows as the men's gaze shifts from carnality to contemplation. This shift in the men's outlook on the girl depicts the destruction of the previous hierarchy as the soldiers have begun to identify with her. The men and the girl are unified by the throes of warfare, since they too have been downtrodden by people classed higher than them on the hierarchical scale. So, the hierarchy between them collapses. Direction of the film's Full Metal Jacket and Paths of Glory, Stanley Kubrick effectively demonstrates to the audience how both a hierarchy is constructed in war and how these hierarchies are broken. Through my analysis of these two films, I've gained a deeper understanding into how fragile hierarchies created by war truly are, since they can be easily broken due to humanity's compassionate nature.